It's the Shatkin First Down pregame show, presented by Dr. Todd Shatkin and the Aesthetic Associate Center, with your hosts, Rich Gensler and Dr. Jared Shatkin, and our special guests from Dent Neurologic, Dr. Laszlo Mechtler and reporter Tyler Dunne. Now, from Shatkin Sports Network Studios in Amherst, here are your hosts, Rich Gensler and Jared Shatkin.
Welcome to the Shatkin First Down Buffalo pregame show. Of course, during this episode, well, we go through the trauma that we all endured watching and being part of as Bills community, Damar Hamlin. In that Monday night game against Cincinnati, we continue to pray for him, as do so many people globally. We're going to share with you the story of Damar Hamlin, what kind of guy he is, what kind of player he is, break all of that down. And we have some special guests that will be joining us in a moment. We'll welcome in Laszlo Mechtler, a professor of neurology and the medical director of Dent Institute, to talk about sort of in layman's terms what happened on Monday night medically with Damar Hamlin. Then in the second segment, Tyler Dunne will join us from Go Long, podcaster, writer as well. Recently did an interview with Damar Hamlin and really gets into who Damar Hamlin really is. Tyler's going to tell some stories about that Q&A with Damar in the second segment. We'll be joined by Jared Shatkin, Sam Castronova. We're going to talk about this incredible outpouring globally, whether it's on social media or financially, for Damar Hamlin and the Bills family and Damar Hamlin's family himself. We're going to talk about that, and we'll get into the Patriot game as well. But first, let's welcome into the show Laszlo Mechtler. All right, welcome back to the Shatkin First Down Buffalo pregame show. We're joined by Laszlo Mechtler, the medical director of Dent Institute and professor of neurology. Great to have you here.
Thank you for having me here.
You are here for intelligence because obviously we saw the dramatic scene on Monday night in the game featuring, of course, Damar Hamlin. And so many reports have come out, and not enough, I think, medical reports have come out to kind of give detail on what we saw on Monday night. So can you kind of walk me through what you saw and what you think ultimately happened to Damar in that moment in the first quarter of that game?
I think I have to start off by saying that most people understand I'm not the treating physician. So he's not under my personal care. So everything I'm saying is by my observation and my 30-some years as being a specialist in head trauma and neurology. So what I saw, and actually I was watching the game, and let's take out the most important thing, very emotional. I mean, emotional for the players, emotional to the fans, and emotional to the viewers. I mean, I can see how this affected our community and nationwide. Having said that, as a physician, when I saw the injury, I looked at it several times and I said, well, first of all, was there a head injury? The answer to that was no. Was there a spinal cord injury? The answer is no, because the patient, and in this case, the player sat up and stood up immediately. So it wasn't a spinal cord injury. But when he went down, you can tell he passed out. So the question is, why did he pass out? And the answer is relatively rare, and I say exceedingly rare, but it's something that we've seen and are seeing more often, which is most likely the Latin term we use in medicine is commotio cordis. Now translated, that's really an external trauma to the heart. And I need to emphasize this is not a heart attack. A heart attack is when there's enough inadequate blood flow to the heart and there's damage to the heart. So the heart is actually quite ill and sick. This is a healthy heart that for whatever reason, when the trauma occurred onto the chest, caused the rhythm of the heart to change. We don't know what kind of rhythm because I was not at bedside, but it most likely was a ventricular fibrillation. What that means is that the heart was not pumping enough blood to the brain and the other parts of the body, and in this case, Mr. Hamlin passed out. And immediately, 10 seconds, they got out there very fast and did a tremendous job. So my feeling is that the medical staff were really on top of this situation.
It is commotio cordis, you mentioned. It is sort of a freakish injury, right? I mean, the stars have to align. I was reading a study from Tufts University that said there's around 25 cases a year, maybe. That's how rare this is. But coincidentally, you were telling me you saw something similar to this recently.
So, the Dent Neurologic Institute, we see over 1,000 patients a day. And there was a case a month ago that came in to see one of our physicians who talked to me about it today, actually. And it was a baseball player, 21-year-old, who was hit with a baseball right on the chest. They measured the speed of the ball at 65 miles an hour. He went down, no heart rhythm, resuscitated, converted, defibrillator, went to the hospital, was put in a coma, and walked into the office 2 days ago. And this happened a month ago, without any neurological issues, without any cardiac issues. So this is rare, but we do see it. It can happen. It's a very scary phenomenon. But let's say what happened. He died. He died on the field. He was brought back. And so it's very fortunate that the medical staff was there. And I've been discussing this with my friends and colleagues, and I'm very optimistic that he's going to come back without neurological problems. I can't be sure of that. It's my feeling that based on what I've seen, that this young man is going to be doing well.
Does it make any difference at all that this young man was an athlete, that he was a professional athlete? Does that help his prognosis going forward as opposed to someone that might not have been at the level of health he was at?
For sure. I mean, if he's a non-smoker, his artery system is normal. He's young. I think he's 24 years old. The complications that we're concerned about, because this is a healthy heart, is less the heart but more the brain. Was there enough blood going to the brain in that period of time? So CPR, 9 minutes, defibrillated at that time, put on oxygen, sent away. Was that 9 minutes of CPR? Because when you do CPR, you get about 30% of the blood that should be going to your body or your brain, not 100%. So if the CPR is quality, because he's young, because he's healthy, he has a really good chance to come out of this. Now, the tool, the study that has to be done is the MRI of the brain, in my perspective. If the MRI of the brain shows no damage, and let's be fair, I think there won't be damage, but we don't know. But if there's no damage, this kid's going to come back. But I don't know that. Everything is being, in some ways, not discussed in the media by the medical ICU staff, the physicians. I was hoping that the physicians would come back because there's a lot of rumors going around, a lot of internet stuff going on, and I already know that some of it is false.
I was going to give props to the University of Cincinnati Hospital that they haven't come out, that they're waiting and making sure that their testing is consistent and that they don't go backwards at all before they make announcements to give us any kind of false hope. Would you agree with that?
In general, I would agree with that. The problem is this is such a media circus going on right now, and people are guessing and so on. So the only people that really have to know is the family.
Sure.
The family has to know, and they're probably being told as much as they can. Him being in a coma doesn't bother me because our patient in the North Towns, Niagara Falls, was also placed in a coma, because then your body relaxes. They put a cooling blanket on you. They check the heart, they check the brain. So we'll have to wait, but until then, it's an academic guessing game.
Sure.
But I think I see a lot of positives.
I like the fact that you see positives, and I'm sure the viewers at home are liking that you're seeing some of the positives with your medical background and perspective. I appreciate that sort of technical explanation, but actually putting into layman's terms for us here on the show. Great to meet you. Thank you for having us. We
Pleasure
really appreciate
being
it.
here. Thank you.
Dr. Laszlo Mechtler from the Dent Institute, professor of neurology and the medical director at Dent Institute, joining us here on the Shatkin First Down Buffalo pregame show. Prayers for Hamlin. Our show continues with Tyler Dunne from Go Long coming up next.
I'm bored. This is the worst day ever.
Remember when we used to go to the park? Another headache. Come out and play. Migraines can affect everyone and take us away from our fun activities and cause us to ignore the ones we love. The Dent Headache Center helped my mom.
Yeah, my dad too.
So now we don't miss out on all the fun stuff. Look at me! Whee!
Hi, I'm Dr. Todd Shatkin here with Hall of Fame running back Thurman Thomas.
My family and I have been coming to Dr. Shatkin's dental office for years. The office is beautiful and the staff is outstanding.
Thanks, Thurman. It's been an honor for me to take care of you and your family.
For a Hall of Fame smile, go where the pros go. Dr. Todd Shatkin at the Aesthetic Associates Center.
Call today for a free consultation, 839-1700.
All right, welcome back to the Shatkin First Down Buffalo pregame show, joined by a good friend, Tyler Dunne, Western New York native who left for a while but came back. He's written for the Buffalo News. He's worked with the Packers in Milwaukee and the Green Bay area, Bleacher Report, and also an esteemed author. GoLongTD.com is the website, also the podcast, because one of the guys you interviewed was Damar Hamlin, and that's a big reason why we're having you on the show this week to talk about your sit down with him. Why choose him as a subject for your podcast?
Honestly, it's rooted in chicken wings. He tweeted out I think it was shortly after the Bills drafted him, right? 6th round, 212th overall. I saw the tweet. He asked fans, give me your top 5 wing spots. The locals, as always, deliver. I think that he had like 194 replies, and Barbell and Elmo's came up again and again and again. So I reached out to Damar, said, hey, saw the tweet, saw you want to get to know the area a little bit. Don't know much about you, but let's eat some chicken wings and find out. And he was all about it, right? That says a lot about Damar Hamlin.
Sure.
This random dude, from Ellicottville, New York, who cannot even conceive McKees Rocks, Pennsylvania, and everything he saw. Like, wanted to throw yourself into that world in a straight, like, I don't know. It just speaks to his kind, gentle soul and wanting to sit down and share his story. So that's how it started. He walked into Elmo's, we grabbed a table, and it took on a life of its own. I want to say we probably hung out for over 2 hours.
That's amazing. And you hear about Damar's enormous personality. Was that something that, immediately you noticed when he, not only when you talked to him, and set it up, but when you got to Elmo's and you walked in, was that something you immediately noticed when you first met him in person?
Yeah, I think he has just a kind, just gentle, warm soul. There's no airs about him. This was the #1 recruit in the entire state of Pennsylvania on the defensive side of the ball. He's been destined for greatness, but I think the fact that he's been through so much from a young age 12, through middle school, high school, even into college, he went through so much at Pitt with his core muscle injury. It's really kind of made him as a person. I think he gets the big picture. He gets this higher purpose that he believes he really has to make real change in the world. So yeah, to answer your question, just there was no awkwardness. Maybe that's the best way to put it, right? We don't know each other at all. We meet up at Elmo's. It's like a first date, right? I always joke with my wife, like when I go to see these players, it's like, it does feel like kind of a date.
All right, bottom line, this is the most important part. Well, it's really not, but who paid the bill?
Good question. No, it was me. It was me.
Well, good for him and you in that situation. So here is your opportunity about 1.5 years ago to learn his story and publish his story. So let's talk a little bit about, what you learned. Let's start about him as a player.
48 scholarship offers, I believe. He was the #1 defensive recruit in the state of Pennsylvania, and he chose to stay close to home. Pitt, the campus was, very close to McKees Rocks, because he knew he had a little brother that looked up to him, and he wanted to bring his little brother along for the ride. And he knew what his life was like growing up in McKees Rocks. And it's not like you necessarily need to just, officially join a gang or sell drugs. No, like there's just violence and there's bad influences around most corners. He said that he corrected himself, actually. More than half of the friends he grew up with died before the age of 21.
Wow.
And that's why he started ending every conversation with loved ones with those 3 simple words, I love you. Which that was, when I saw the injury and realized who it was and thought back to that conversation, that was something that popped in my head. I could remember that vividly. And it was like, it's such a lesson to take for all of us to take in all of our day-to-day lives with all of our loved ones. Just let them know you love them, because you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. So went through that, when his dad was taken away to prison for the intent to sell drugs. was sentenced to 10 years, did 3.5, got out, got his life together, started a trucking business. They've got a great relationship now. He's back on track. But there was that period of time where it was just Damar and Damar's mom. There was nights where their heat in their home broke. It gets cold in Pittsburgh. There were mornings where he didn't have a meal to bring to school, so a buddy at school might give him a couple bites of his sandwich. It was rough.
This is the kind of guy that the Bean McDermott team loves, right? Perhaps an overachiever, but a captain, a guy that has all kinds of ability, but a guy that you need in your room. Ty, man, best to the fam, and thanks for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Hey, best to you and your fam. A pleasure to see you, even under the circumstances. Let's make sure we do it again soon and don't need something like this to get together, Bull. That's right. Always good to see you.
I love you.
Hey, love you too, man.
GoLogTD.com. Tyler Dunne. Thank you again, man. Back with more. We'll get Sam and Jared together. We'll go around the round table when we continue on the Shatkin First Buffalo pregame show.
I was in a car accident. My front tooth cracked. I'm definitely embarrassed to smile. I got mini dental implants. It changed my life because it made me feel like me. Like I can smile and feel like Ashley. I just want to say thank you.
Mini dental implants can change your life too. You can be you again. Call us at 839-1700 for a free consultation.
I'm more than happy. I'm ecstatic.
If there's one thing I love more than Western New York, it's the people of Western New York. So all my friends from Buffalo, Hamburg, and Niagara Falls, Lockport, West Seneca, and Grand Island, where would you love to have dinner tonight?
Brussels, of course. Brussels, of course.
One more time.
Brussels, of course.
Thank you, Western New York, for being my guest and letting us do the rest.
Hi, I'm Dr. Todd Shatkin, and a Happy New Year to all of you from the Aesthetic Associates Center.
All right, here we are around the round table on the Shatkin First Down Buffalo pregame show. Again, thanks to Tyler Dunne for joining us and his great insight into the man that Damar Hamlin is, that we obviously still continue to pray for and root on in his recovery. I'm joined once again by Jared and Sam. Sam, you play pro football in the Arena League, and you've played football most of your young life. You're around, how old are you? I don't
26.
26. Okay, you and Damar are around the same age.
Mm-hmm.
But talk a little bit about, because, we all, whoever watched the game, I think we all did, watch the game. We saw really responsive Damar's teammates.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredibly important. And you could tell by the seriousness of the event, like, not by the medical staff or anything, but by his teammates' reactions. Like, that's their brother. You always say you're going into battle with, and you don't ever think something like that can happen, but it's rare, but it can. So it was pretty incredible to see their reactions, and you just hope and pray that he can improve after this.
Yeah, I mean, I think another thing that people kept bringing about was, and Deion Dawkins did this on ESPN a couple of nights ago, talking about, look, we're gladiators, we put on this armor, but we also take it off. Mm-hmm. And underneath all of it, we're all human beings, right? I mean, they have emotions and feelings just like everybody else.
Right, and that's their brother. I mean, he was loved in that locker room, and he still is loved, and they're showing so much support for him. But I think a way to think about it is that guy, he has a brand called Chasing Millions, and a big part of it was making money for his family. And, everybody who puts the helmet on and plays football, yeah, they do it for the love of the game, but they also want to take care of their family. And this guy was out there trying to provide for, he's a 24-year-old kid, and his mother has to see him there unconscious, and he has so many people to support him, but that's kind of just a situation where how do you really react if you're a mother in that situation, when you're like, my son is here to play a kid's game and I've been supporting him all these years, but what about if Damar comes out of this? How's she going to feel about him playing football again? Like, there's a lot of discussion to have about the family unit, and I think the football locker room is a huge part of the family unit.
Yeah, for sure. And go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say one thing, how it was pretty awesome, Coach McDermott, the way he handled that situation. And Zach Taylor gets a lot of credit, but I don't know if you heard it today, but Zach Taylor said the first thing Coach McDermott said was, I can't be coach right now. I need to be in the hospital with him. And I think we can get on him sometimes because he a lot of times gives some cliche answers in the press conferences, but you can tell he genuinely cares about each and every one of his players. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And that's what we hear all the time about him. And for those of you that don't know a whole lot about Damar Hamlin, and you've probably learned more than you already knew about him just in the last week. 6th round pick out of Pitt. He was a team captain there. He was all ACC. Really good player. 6th round pick, as I mentioned. Dane Jackson was the 7th round pick. And doesn't that speak to the kind of people, and I say people, and I mean people, not football players, but the kind of people that Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott attract to this team and roster, right? These guys are long shots to make the team. And both of those guys, Damar Hamlin and Dane Jackson, have been integral parts of that defensive backfield, not only last year, but also this year too.
I mean, yeah, I think almost a bigger part, and you're starting to see it with the Sabres as well, is when you draft good people that are good players. And I think that Brandon Beane does a ton of research, and these diamond in the roughs aren't really diamond in the roughs because he does his research and he finds the guys that are the captains of the team, the ones who speak up, the ones who put the work in. And Damar Hamlin, since the day he's got here, from what I hear on the radio, he's had a pretty remarkable season stepping in for Micah Hyde. He's been a really good player for us as well, and I think that's because of his character. And I think Brandon Beane is very good at finding those guys.
Yeah, and how about this? I mean, he and Dane Jackson were childhood friends. Yeah. They play against each other in high school. They end up going to Pitt together. And the reason this is awesome that Damar Hamlin went to Pitt, he had offers from Penn State and Ohio State that arguably are better programs than Pitt. He went there because he wanted to stay close to home because he has a younger brother. I mean, what does that say about Damar Hamlin all by itself when it comes to family? You know, you mentioned his GoFundMe page, now almost $7 million raised. It's incredible. But he raised that money. He started that charity when he was in school, about to go to the NFL, to help out his mom's child care center to provide toys through the toy drives, through that GoFundMe and through that charitable organization that he started. And it's really remarkable where that's going to go. And some of the people that have donated to the GoFundMe at this point, I mean, you go from Tom Brady and the Patriots of all people to people like Michael Phelps, to people like the actor Eric Stonestreet I just saw earlier today. So people from all over the world, whether it be average Joes like us, whether it be professional athletes, professional entertainers, are all getting on board this. And every city seemingly around the country is on board with this. It's front page news on every sports page. People are keeping tabs on this. I love what they did at the Sabres game the other night down in Washington. They took that moment to respect Buffalo and respect Damar Hamlin and his family and the family that the Bills are and the Buffalo community is. And I got to tell you, Buffalo's gone through a hell of a lot this year, whether it was the mass shooting back in May, 10 people killed there. Whether it was the blizzards, over almost 50 people died in the 2 snowstorms in November and December. We had the horrible house fire just last week where 5 children were killed. And now this. Boy, I'll tell you what, the city of good neighbors, this community has had to come together for a lot. But that's what makes Buffalo what it is. So keep it up. Great job. Thank you for watching. More coming up next. We're going to talk about the game that's going to happen on Sunday. You wonder what that emotion is going to be like at Highmark Stadium. We'll talk the Bills and the Patriots when we return on the Shatkin First Down Buffalo pregame show.
Hi, I'm Dr. Todd Shatkin, the clinical director here at the new Shatkin Dental Health Postgraduate Dental Residency Program. For years, I've felt there's been a need to help those patients who just can't afford quality care but want to be treated in a private dental office setting. Shatkin Dental Health will save you 20 to 30% on the procedures you need without compromising the care you deserve.
Call Shatkin Dental Health today at 43 Smile and receive a dental cleaning and x-rays for only $43. And as always, consultations are free.
It's bad going through life having to cover your face because you're embarrassed of your teeth. I wasn't comfortable at all. I didn't want dentures. I had the Fixed on 6 done. It was easy. It literally changed my life. I can eat anything now. I can smile, I laugh. I don't have to cover my face anymore. It was awesome.
Mini dental implants can change your life too. You can be you again. Call us at 839-1700 for a free consultation.
All right, welcome back to the Shatkin First Down Buffalo pregame show. Prayers for Damar. Clearly, the number 3 jersey on our set here for this special episode as we go to the final regular season game, at least on the original schedule, right, guys? With Jared and Sam again. We're going to talk a little bit about the Patriots. Obviously, this is the second game between the two teams. And the first one, remember, was kind of a sleeper, right? I remember talking about that game after it happened, 24-10 Bills win. We were like, man, that game was boring.
Yeah.
And I don't know what to expect from this game. Here comes New England. They beat Miami with a third-string quarterback, basically. They lose to Cincinnati by 4, which was, I thought, a little bit surprising. Obviously, they had lost to the Bills, and sandwiched in between was that crazy Vegas loss. And then they beat Arizona. So I still really don't know what New England is. I still think they're extremely inferior. How about you guys?
Yeah, I don't think they're as good of a team as the Buffalo Bills. And if we play the way that we usually play, this Sunday won't be too tough of a game. But I do think the emotion's going to be there, and you never know how the players are feeling. So all you can do is go out and play the game.
Yeah, Bills 6 straight wins, and Jared mentioned emotion. I mean, it's going to be maybe the most emotional game that's ever been played in Buffalo, right? I mean, I would vouch for that.
Yeah, I mean, especially for his teammates, I would say. We had a guy in college one time who got knocked out, and we weren't sure if he was okay. The ambulance came and everything, and we had to go back out on the field and play, and dudes are crying, and it was tough, but we just said we got to go play for DK. That was our buddy, and that's what we did. And we ended up coming back and winning the game. So you hope that they can kind of use it as motivation, and that he can just continue to improve.
Yeah, and they're the better team. They're I would submit at this point the better coach team.
Absolutely.
They have better players down the line. They're 7.5-point favorites in this game. Oh, by the way, if the Patriots were to win, they would be in the playoffs. So clearly they have something to play for. If they were to lose, they'd have a lot of things needed to happen. I think the Jets, the Browns, and the Jaguars all would have to win their games for them to get in. But the Bills, if they were to win, they clinch second, if I'm not mistaken. All things being what they are going into this game, with a lot of still unanswered questions about the rest of the schedule. Needless to say, let's get a quick prediction. First from you, Jared.
I mean, I'll say 24-10 again. I see it as a pretty similar game to last time.
For you, Sam?
I'll go 31-17 Bills.
I'll go 31-9. I just don't think this game is going to be close. I think that motivation factor, and look, Highmark Stadium is going to be completely off the chain. You got to think the people in those stands are going to be standing on their feet that entire game, cheering. Everybody probably wearing number 3 jerseys or T-shirts wherever they can get them. It's going to be an incredible, incredible atmosphere. And I think, well, we all agree that the Bills will win. That'll do it for the show. Got to thank Laszlo Mechtler for joining us, Tyler Dunne, of course, you guys, as well, and our entire team. Thanks to Shatkin F.I.R.S.T, Aesthetic Associates, I Smile, Dr. Todd Shatkin, and Russell's as well. Go Bills. We hope to see you for playoff episodes, and more prayers for Damar. Give to the GoFundMe page for, obviously, his charitable endeavor. Keep that number growing day by day, and let's keep praying for 3 for the Bills. This has been the Shatkin First Down Buffalo pregame show. See you next week. We at the Shatkin Sports Network are asking you to make a call or go to the websites on the screen to set up your CPR training. It could be a life or death decision.
If you would like to be a participant in the Shatkin First Down Huddle, email Mark Aarons at maarons@shatkinfirst.com. This has been a production of the Shatkin Sports Network.